Awesome. Okay, we're on YouTube now. Uh, All right. Hi, Miss Edith. Welcome, welcome. So we are trying to test out some things. We already broadcasting on YouTube, but um, so I'm looking at the TV screen as well because I can't see your I can't see your videos on the screen as well. So I'm just trying to make sure everything is well set. So did you guys get something like a notification to allow the video to be streamed? Did you get anything like that on your? Okay, you didn't.
What I got
When we
was
logged in.
I I got
Okay.
I got a notification that you're doing public live streaming. That's all.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay. Did it say that I should allow or something?
No, it's not.
Okay, it did not. Okay. All right. I think I may need to. Oh, okay. 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 Awesome. All right. I can see. Oh, let me share. I think I've shared the link already.
Yes,
Yeah.
I got it. Thank you.
Miss Edith, can you say hello? I think it only captures the person when the person is speaking, sort of.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you see me? Joining live from
We
beautiful
can't see
Zimbabwe,
Miss
Harare.
Edith. Oh, great. All right. We can see Miss Edith
Oh,
now on the screen. So I'm looking at the TV. So that's why have just been looking off my camera.
it seems to have a delayed response on the YouTube one.
Yes, there's a delayed response. I'm also seeing it. But then they will not actually know what's going on. All right. It's just us here, but they will still hear. Okay, I don't know how many persons that we have connected, and this is already 5:02 West African time. We are going to be getting started right about now. So I just need to confirm the number of persons watching one more time before we go. Okay, so we have 7 persons watching right now from what I'm seeing. We have 7 persons watching right now from what I am seeing. So I think we can just wait till we're up to 10, then we can take it up. What do you think?
I think that's a
Okay.
good idea.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. All right, we have 8 persons watching now. 8 persons watching now. 8 persons watching now. Okay, still have 8 persons watching. Okay, I think we'll just start at exactly 5. Oh, it's already 5:05. All right, let's see. Just waiting for up to 10. Then we can take it out. All right, so we have 10% watching right about now. So I want to believe good evening, good morning. I hate to do this. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching me from. All right, welcome, Miss Edith and Miss Loveness to Couple Talk Tech. Is it podcast? All right. So this is digital citizenship seminar where we are going to be discussing how parents can guide their children properly. All right, can guide their children properly in this technologically driven age. So we all know that in today's interconnected world, our kids, right, children are growing up with technology, unlike how we were raised. Okay, in the should I say the should we call it the dark era? Where anything can happen. Someone said that our time we were so fortunate to do all of our mischievousness without anybody recording it. But right now, just one input, mischief by one ignorant teenager can go viral on the internet. And that is why it is very essential we have this conversation, because this interconnected world that our kids are growing into is their playground right now. You see a lot of kids on social media, on the internet, everywhere online, right? And social hubs. But as we all know, with great connectivity comes great responsibility as well. So as parents, you are not just guardians of this physical world, because once parents think that, by admonishing or advising the children at home, that's all. Okay, sometimes we see some kids online and you wonder, do these people have parents? Do they have bigger siblings or bigger uncles that could come across these things and draw their ear, So as parents, we are now guardians of not just their physical world, but also their digital world. So the big question in every parent's mind is, how can you ensure, or how can I ensure that they are not just safe online, but thriving as responsible, keyword, responsible, respectful, and informed digital citizens. You're not just having a child who is respectful at home, but also respectful in the digital world, in the interconnected world. So we are going to be unpacking this topic with practical strategies, real life examples, and expert insights to equip you with the tools to guide your children and teenagers in navigating the online world wisely. So whether you're wondering how to manage their screen time, teach online etiquette, or protect your child's digital footprints, this is where the platform that we are going to be diving into that conversation without mincing words, right? And we have experts that will be joining us in this conversation. We have Miss Edith Utete and Miss Loveness Leah. I hope I got that correctly, right? Miss Loveness Leah. So I'm going to throw the mic over to Miss Edith to introduce herself, and then over to Miss Loveness. All right.
Thank you, Frederick. Hello, everyone. My name is Edith Utete, and I am an attorney, also a child online safety expert, as well as a digital parenting consultant and a digital wellness consultant. I am the co-founder of Digital Wellness Africa, where with Loveness, we combined our superpowers to just assist mostly the children, but also because they don't live in a vacuum, the communities around them, their parents, educators, even the corporate world and the community at large, in helping raise children who represent what Africa is about, which is community, respect, productivity, and just the richness of our cultures intermingled and becoming one. That's a nutshell about me.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Miss Loveness.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Loveness in there, as mentioned before, and I am also I'm co-founder with Edith. And the one thing that we have in common is we're both moms before anything else, and that's our biggest motivator on why we're doing this. Professionally, I'm a digital solutions consultant and techpreneur. So it's really, really like a burning point for me to see children, adults, workplaces, businesses, corporates, everyone who uses technology to thrive on it and to do it productively. But like Edith has said, we've got a very soft spot for children and those who are vulnerable online. So that's it about me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. You are welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome once again. So, like I said, we're going to have this like a conversation. And at first, I was like, okay, we'll give Miss Edith like 40 minutes to talk, and then Miss Loveness. But we're like, let's have it like
Uh,
in quotes, a parlor conversation, right? So I said that we are going to be diving into the questions that these parents raised, so that we would not just talk from things that we think that is what they are feeling, right? So we are going to be diving into the questions or the challenges they dropped on why they were filling the form. All right. So we have a parent here that said something here. So she said that her child likes anything that has to do with software applications. Anything that has to do with software applications. So she's wondering what can she do, because it's a major challenge for her. Like I said, our African parents here, I always say that these days children are more smarter than their parents.
mm,
We have seen children do some stuffs on their own smartphone or devices that their parents are not able to trace. When we were growing up, the only things that we saw as things that a child may want to become is either a doctor, a
yeah.
lawyer, engineer. But today, children want to become content creators. Okay, children want to become software engineers and all of that. So, what can we say to these parents that have a child that is always all about softwares and application? Miss Loveness.
Hmm. I think it's brilliant that their child is into softwares and things like that, because these are the emerging technologies that we're encouraging children to, parents, institutions, even at national level, to say these are the future of our world, since we're in the digital space. I think the concern would obviously, as a digital citizenship and wellness consultant, would be the issue around how much time do they then spend on that software? Is this at the risk of social skills? Are they neglecting other things? Is how much, that type of thing? That's where the concern will be, because at least this child is focused on software development. You can easily then almost like help them navigate to find, okay, what space they actually want to be in. My issue, again, I'll underline it, is that software in itself, tech in itself is not bad, but the question is, how much time are you spending there? How much of their life is spent there? And is this child, well balanced in terms of life and interaction and all those things? Are they addicted to technology? That's what I would say.
All right. So from what you've said, how much time and balance. So we're going to move into helping parents really understand the whole essence of digital citizenship, right? What
Mhm.
is this? And very big word, digital citizenship, right? So now let's take this life case. Okay, let's take this real life scenario of a teenager that creates a viral post but then faces backlash for including misleading information. Miss Edith, what does this mean in line with digital citizenship, and how is it crucial to today's digital age?
Okay, so when you talk about digital citizenship, it's very similar to citizenship as we know it. When you are part of
Mhm.
a certain community, there are expectations, you have rights and responsibilities that are attached to you being part of that community. And in the same way that as citizens of our countries, whether we're in Zimbabwe or in Nigeria or anywhere else in the world, we have guidelines and expectations that can be social norms, but also that can have a legal basis
Mhm.
where we are required to treat each other in a certain way. We have to adhere to the rules of the land, the laws of the road, and so forth. It's the same with the digital world. When you go online, you can't throw away your etiquette, for example. You cannot throw away the requirement for you to be honest, the requirement for you to be morally grounded, the requirement for you to treat other people with respect, those things still carry on into the digital world. And to turn to your example, a teenager shares something that is false. Was that correct? Did I get you
Yeah.
correct?
Misleading.
And
Yeah.
it's misleading. Yes, it's misleading.
Mm-hmm.
It it could maybe even result in a certain reaction from people. It can result in panic. It can result in distress. So what happens, the same as it does in the normal world, is that we would then measure the extent to which that misleading information has misled people, what has been the result of that misleading information. And then the unfortunate thing now, there's that term that you threw in, which is viral. When something now has the capacity to spread fast and far because of these platforms that we are on, it means more people now are also recipients of that misleading information. And what then is the result is that this information has led people astray. So depending on
Yeah.
what it was and what social or legal norms linked to it, it means that child, that teenager has to face the consequences of their actions. If it means that they have done something which has penalties in terms of the law, then those penalties will have to apply to that kind of behavior. So digital citizenship still means that you can be prosecuted, you can be sentenced to
Okay.
a prison sentence, you can have different penalties that will be attached to your behavior. And because of
Yeah.
that, it's important for us as parents to teach our children that when you're online, you are not, it's not all fun and games. There's also the
Mm-hmm.
serious aspect of it, where there are legal standards that you have to comply with, where you have to
Yeah.
give information which is verified and which is true and which is not misleading. And if you do
Mm.
then mislead, you have to face the penalties of your actions.
Awesome. So part of what you said is, the role parents should play in guiding the child from refraining from such actions. Right now, Miss Edith, I would like you to, sorry, Miss Loveness, I'd like you to give a comment on this. Now, we've seen a child, we've asked children in a class to tell us the difference between um, a tablet, smartphone, and laptop. Okay, so this brilliant boy said something. He said that a laptop is used to do serious things. Why, in his words, a smartphone is used to do unserious things, in his words. All right. Now I asked, why did you say that? He said that whenever my mommy is on her smartphone, she will just be laughing and laughing and cross her legs and just be, but whenever she's on her laptop, she will have her glasses on and then she say, please don't disturb me, I am working. So now you can see how this parent's behavior is indirectly calibrating a pathway for the child without the parent's knowledge, right? So now what can you say about how parents' online behavior influences their children? Miss Loveness.
This one I think it might make me slightly unpopular. Because the thing is, the sad part is some of the parents will tell the children, this is what you're supposed to do. They'll tell the children, they know what they're supposed, they tell the children, okay, fine, this is model citizenship, this is how you use your technology productively, this is the best way, this is the healthy way, this is they'll give them the standards and everything. But then the question is, do they model it? Do they model those things? And without even knowing it, I've seen children, young children, when they're imitating their parents, they will take their palms and they'll act like their parents. imitating everything that they're saying. And so we need to be careful as parents. What are we doing? We've seen cases. I mean, we're always talking about this with Edith.
Mhm.
When you go to a public place, it's a restaurant, as a family, and the adults take out their phones and the children are, just looking around, not knowing. We've seen couples that have gone out maybe on a date night, it's just the two of them, and they're on their phones. So children are watching us. They're watching us. We will have to challenge ourselves. It has to be intentional that this is how I want to use my phone. And I will also, besides just my actions, I will engage in conversation, not necessarily always doing the do's and don'ts. Is that can't be the only conversation I have with the children when it concerns technology. Let's sit down, let's talk. What do you think the phone is about? What do you think the laptop is about? Give your
Mhm.
children the power to say, like I'm a digital person. Part of my other work is on the laptop. My children will sometimes, I've given them, we've spoken about it, the leeway to say, I think you have spent enough time on that laptop. And, regardless of the pressure, regardless of some of the things that
Mhm.
need to be done, I will honor that and actually give myself a break and spend time with them. So I think that there's a lot of dynamics that are involved. And I know I can't like have mixed it all up in there as a mixed bag, but children are watching, and we have to be intentional about how we use these gadgets, because that's what he's
Yeah.
only seeing what he's seeing.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Someone once said that it's easier to teach a child by doing what you want them to do than by telling them what you want them to do. You know. All right. So one of the reoccurring problem or challenge in this form is screen time. Screen time is literally, top one or top three in every parent's
Mm,
challenge or problem in today's world. Right now, diving into that segment now, establishing screen time boundaries. So let's start with this. At what age would you say that a child should be allowed access to a screen? At what age would you say that a child should be allowed access to a screen, whether it is to what's it called, a smartphone, a tablet, a laptop, and all of that? Before I give Miss Edith the mic, now there was something I was watching on YouTube recently about Coco Melon. So the parent was talking about how addictive Cocomelon is to the child. Now, I also saw this viral post of what happens once you tune in the Cocomelon intro sound. Like the children or the child around immediately, wakes up from even sleep, a deep sleep. You see a child just boom, and then they are running to the screen and all of that. And there's something I also used to say that parents need to know that tablets, laptop, or smartphone, right, is not a toy.
no,
you know Parents these days, even on their own phone, you see a whole lot of kiddies content. Once a child, when we were young, if you cry, your mom may give you a pacifier or something, but smartphones are now like the pacifiers for kids, and parents don't actually realize the adverse effect that could be to their child. So Miss Edith, at what age would you say a child is old enough to get access or gain access to screens?
You just reminded me of when my little girl was a bit younger, and whenever she would cry, we would just play the music from Cocomelon, and she'd be like,
Happy.
and it would help to pacify her. But to answer your question, when it comes to screens, particularly smartphones,
Hmm.
and tablets,
Yeah.
there's a lot of research that has supported the fact that children who are under 5 should not have screen time. They should not be given those gadgets for any
Mhm.
reason.
All
And
right.
then as they get older, up to 10, they can have at least controlled, limited access to the devices. But the reality on the ground is that many of our schools, I don't know about your part of the world, but in our part of the world, when children go to school, they usually start school at maybe 4 years of age, and they're already doing computer classes. In fact, most schools put that in bold letters to say we offer computer classes. And what are they using? They're using iPads. Mostly, they've moved from using the desktops. They're now using iPads. However, this is not recommended. The world over, it has been shown that up to age 10, this is the age where a child is still developing their cognitive and neurologically, their brain is not ready for the things that happen when you give them a device. In terms of the addictive element that you talked about earlier, that is one key concern that is there, because the way that screen draws us, even as adults, imagine what it does to a child. And now this child does not have the reasoning capacity to know how much time is too much, or even to tell that, okay, now I need to get up and walk around or run around. Now I need to stretch. Now I need to sleep. You find little children. There's an example of one headmaster at one of the schools that we went to. He said his grandson was given a magazine at the airport. And this child takes the magazine and he's scrolling on the magazine. And he made such a fuss. He was so upset because the pages were not moving. So there's just something that is now ingrained in the children. You find some of the videos even show that in their sleep, children are scrolling in their sleep.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, so those things for us, that's a red flag right there. It shows that children are not developmentally ready for those screens. And because they're not ready, they're quicker to become addicted to them. And it's so attached to the extent, I'm sure you've even seen videos of children who, when you take away their devices, they throw up a storm. Some of them will even shout obscenities and beat their parents or their caregivers, because it's like a drug for them now, that you're like, it's as if they're in withdrawal when you take it away. So screen time boundaries are definitely necessary. In fact, what we would recommend is that you delay giving access to screens to young children, especially those who are under 10 years of age. If you must teach them computer skills, let's use desktops. If we don't have desktops, maybe a laptop, because really, what is it about the smartphone that we're teaching them when it comes to education? Isn't we want them to understand how to be computer literate. So let's use the computer for that, and then reduce the screen time as much as possible, delay it as much as possible, give the child the capacity to use their creativity, to be able to do other things outside the screen. But because I am also talking to a real situation, and as a parent with a child who's under 10, who is surrounded by people who are on their screens in the home, the honest truth is that at some point, this child is going to have the screen. So where that happens, let's make sure that we balance it out, like Loveness was saying earlier. Let's incorporate other things into that child's daily activity so that they're not stuck there for more than 2 hours. 2 hours is actually a lot. It should be between at least 1 hour at a time for them, on a day, for them to use the screen. In fact, we've had sessions where children are saying that the only time that they get off their screen is when the power goes out, when they have no power at home and there's nowhere to charge the device. But if there's somewhere to charge it, they will, when the battery is going low, they will connect the charger and they will use the screen while it's charging until they fall asleep or whatever, which it leads up to 20 hours or 20, even 23 hours of screen time. Now that is absolutely ridiculous. As parents, it's our responsibility now to have those boundaries. The other question that you asked was, what is the age for access to a screen? The longer you keep it, the better. If you're able to, in Australia, they've said 16 for social media. In other countries, they're talking about the same age, 16 for screens. So you've got some people who are saying that they'll only give their children a smart device at the age when they're able to drive, which is usually 16 in some jurisdictions. Personally, I think there's no one size fits all. We need to also understand that that number, which we call age, is not a guarantee that someone is ready or mature enough for that device. And some young people, we have witnessed young people who are doing exceptional things using those gadgets, and we don't want to deprive them of that by just lumping an age restriction there. I think context is everything. We need to also understand how the quality of what the child is doing, and then we also look at the quantity. Even if they're doing something qualitative, it can't be endless as well. It has to have, you will not study, even when we used to just use books for studying, you will not study for 23 hours. That is insane. So we say, let's have things which are balanced. Let's also know our children, understand their maturity levels. Their readiness will be determined by a lot of factors, including the age.
Okay, that was quite elaborate. Right. So, yes, Miss Loveness. Okay, Miss Loveness can take it up.
And thank you so much for that question, Frederick. And to the parent that asked it, I salute you for saying that.
A lot of them. A lot.
A lot of them, right. And to Ida, thank you so much for that answer. I'd like to also add on to say, for those parents that, I know we're talking about when they should start, but what about the parent who's already given their child that device before this conversation? And they say, okay, my child is already there. It's too late. It's too late. I've given the child the device, and how do I manage the screen time? How do I make sure that they are you do it well? And one of the most unsettling things that I have seen that have given me the push and the boldness to keep talking about it is videos showing children with dysregulated emotions when you take that device away. The ghost scrolling, and this is functions of the brain. And so I think it's really important for parents to know, like for example, if you want to know whether your child is having too much screen time, you need to check in terms of your child how their eyes. Some of them will develop dark rings around their eyes. They're constantly having tired eyes. The other thing is just try. I'm not saying just try and take that device away and see the response of that child. And then you will know that, oh my goodness, my child is dependent on this technology. And whilst we're not encouraging you to literally be I don't know what word I can use, but to just take away the device, let's do it in a way that builds the relationship and builds trust, and also helps them to regulate. Like, it's almost like withdrawal symptoms for someone who's got a drug addiction. So I think it's really, really important, if you're a parent, start looking for the signs that I think my child is addicted. And some of them really do need clinical or medical intervention for them to actually get through this. We've got children that we know of, cases of children who are not just addicted to the screen, but they've also gone ahead. They're addicted to gaming, and it goes beyond the screen. We've got children that we know of as young as 8 that are also addicted to pornography, and they can't stop. And they access some of these things through their parents' devices. It's not necessarily that the child has their own device, but you as a parent, you give your child that phone that has not been set, does not have child-friendly settings. So I thought it's very important to also add that aspect to say, yes, whilst the parents with children who have not yet got the screen have got that option to maybe withhold until as much as they can, but then for those who've already given their children, there are ways you can still come back, help them to come up with programs. You also unplug. Take walks with your children. Make time for your children. We once had a session with Edith where a child says, "What do you want me to do? My house is, I can't go outside. I'm in this big house. I'm by myself, or my friend stays somewhere else." Remember, when we were growing up, we'd go and play in the street. But can the kids now? In some areas, they can't do that. They're in that house the whole time. So social media and technology becomes their only way of connecting with the society, with their friends, and all that. So I thought maybe I should just also throw that in there and say, with parents that have screens, there's still options. You can unplug. You can create environments where you get involved as well, and you put away some of your devices and things like that.
Yeah, I can't agree. I can't agree less to all of this, right? So there's something I've come to notice, because we work with kids in schools and even on one-on-one basis and all of that. I remember this school that the child was going to present something, so we were getting her ready to present. So we wanted to just, parents were meant to come for that event. So we thought that if we say, "Hey, your dad is going to be here, so make sure that you do it very well." In this child word, he said, "If my father comes here, if my dad shows up, then my name will stop being my name." That was what the child said. I was like, "Wait, what are you saying?" He said that her father had lied that um, he was going to be at her graduation, but turns out the man didn't come. But he told her that parents these days are so busy trying to actually make a future path, chart a path for their children, but not minding what the child is currently doing now. I always tell parents that, hey, no matter what you're teaching that child, it takes this thing on their hand. It takes that technology, that laptop or that tablet on their hand to start making it look like everything that you've taught them is non-avoid. All right. So it's about what I want us to come in now from the angle of the importance of education. Ms. Edith said controlled, limited access. Like I said in the beginning, that some parents see this device as something to use and pacify the child. Just take, let me go and do something else so that you not disturb me. All right. Keep him engaged, or stay engaged with this while I go do this other thing. Or parents have I got my first mobile phone when I was 12 years old. I 12 years old or less? I think I was 12 years old. The cell phones, but not this type that they have these days, right? So the only things that we could do was play those LED games on your phone. Then you can be able to make a call, just pick my dad's call and drop. Okay, I'm coming home now, and all of that. And since then, I've always been on a phone, right? But there was something I got to realize at the later point of my life. I was like, wait, if by the time phones started getting a little bit smart, like the Java phones that, a little bit of internet on those 1 or 2 inch screen. I told the child that we were using a 2 inch screen. I said, "How were you able to see it?" Said, "Yeah, you can see it," right? So when the internet started coming into those phones, that was like opening the child, all right, opening me to a world beyond the boundaries of our compound things, right? So, but there was nothing like my parents coming to, okay, so this is what to do, this is what you shouldn't do, this is what you do, and the rest. And that is actually the angle that digital citizenship comes in, right? To now show the kids, all right, while you're on the screen, these are the things that you need to do, or the things you shouldn't do. Okay, so how can parents start encouraging or teaching their children online etiquette? Okay, how to use technology, importance of respect, kindness, and empathy in digital communication. So what can we say in helping these parents to now properly guide them? There's an acronym in our organization, early, proper, and intentional education, right? These are some of the things that these parents don't even really bear on their sleeves, right? They hear a lot of keep it away, keep it away. So now, Miss Loveness, you said for those that now already have access to it, right? Even though you may want to withdraw, but you need to do it with love, right? With respect and everything. But there will still be a time that the child will get access to screen time, right? How can parents now encourage or teach these kids online etiquette? And I want us to also explain what online etiquettes are, and then the examples of online etiquette. Miss Loveness.
Wow, that's an amazing question right there on online etiquette. So the first thing is online etiquette is, the way we have etiquette, how these are the social rules that govern how we act. Etiquette is okay, fine. Make sure when someone, if it's like, for example, when you're eating, don't chew with your mouth open. It's not illegal, but it's just etiquette. It's good manners. It's part of our, sometimes it's part of our culture. We're saying that show respect to people. If someone is elderly, give them that respect that is due to them. And so I think sometimes the biggest mistake that we make, or what we've noticed, is there are parents who experience what we call tech overwhelm. They feel like, oh, we're before computers. I don't even know where to start. And one of the things that we have learned is start from where you are. Well, in our side, we have a thing called Ubuntu, the things that govern how we treat each other as a community of people. And they're just certain things that you will not do. You will not shout at someone. If you were to see them face to face, you wouldn't shout at them. You wouldn't walk around, like, for example, if someone commenting on people's bodies, commenting on what they are looking like, facial features, physical features, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't even, outright degrade someone or harass someone when it's face to face. So there's this false sense of security behind the screen that makes people really act out of character. And so what I believe, us as parents, us as educators, any other stakeholders, let's not create a virtual, let's merge those worlds together, the virtual world and the real world. Let's have conversations. The way we teach, so for us young ladies, this is the way you should carry yourself. This is the way you should sit when you're wearing a dress. Let's also be intentional as parents to also impart our values. And with you can't say you need a special lesson on your values. No. You already have those things. You already grew up with those things. And it's the same thing online. There are things, yes, which are technical, the softwares that people are, the gaming, all that is technical. But when we talk about some of these things like etiquette and netiquette and all those things, it's really key to emphasize that as a parent, some of these things you already have. You just need to create the time to sit down and say, I've noticed that you're online a lot. Who ask the questions, what do you like doing online? What will you be talking about? I know that there are kids who will block their parents from following them, and so that they can see what they are doing, because they're like, it ain't none of her business type of thing. But I think it's critical for parents to be curious, to initiate and to get some of those things out there, because the child is yours. And when and it's really sad, to see your child making that one mistake, and like the first use case, and then it blows out of proportion, and this child is overwhelmed. You know, yeah. I don't. Did I answer all the questions?
All right.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yes. But I would like Miss Eddie to, in our side of the world, we say add more firewood to the fire, so that the fire can burn more. Add more wood to the fire. All right, Miss Edith, more wood.
Yeah, Loveness talked about our culture, but we also need to understand that there are different cultures that are now emerging because of our interconnectedness in the digital world. So as parents, it's important to help children have a sense of authenticity, for them to take pride in who they are. We've had engagements with young people where you can see from the way they dress, the way they talk, even the things that they take an interest in, that there's a lot of influence from the digital world, what they're seeing on YouTube and TikTok. And that is why a lot of those dangerous trends are also so popular. So in the same breath, when they are on gaming platforms, on social media, the language that they are exposed to, the way people interact, the way they are not respectful of each other's opinions, you can actually see it filtering into the real life, which is why then as parents, we need to have conversations with our children, preferably before they have the device and before they go onto those platforms, before they are gaming, before they have social media. We should at least have conversations with them about our expectations and also the values that we want them to continue to uphold, no matter where they go, no matter what they are exposed to. I remember when I was when I finished my A levels, I got a temporary job. My dad sat me down and he said, "You know what? You may be going to work in a little shop." The shop sold what were those called? VCR, those tapes. So you see, I started working in technology a long time ago, and that's when we were getting the CDs and all that. And so the shop rented out the VCR thingies, what are they called, video cassettes, and sold music cassettes and all that. And he said to me, yes, this shop, you'll be playing music, you'll be playing movies and all that, but you must retain your professionalism. You greet people, ma'am, sir, even if it's people that you're familiar with. We came from a small town where people basically knew each other. They said, no, when you're at work, these are not your neighbors, they're not your friends, they're your customers. So you talk to them like this. And when you get onto the phone, make sure that you answer the phone with a smile. Do you realize that when you're smiling, people can hear you on the other end that you're smiling? And he told me these little things which I've carried forward even now. Even when I got into the age of email, I knew that when I'm responding to an email, I have to have a business approach to it, a professional approach to it. The way I speak the language, even the grammar, it has to be proper. But you find now with the young people, the etiquette is not even just about issues of empathy and respect, but their language is sometimes so, I don't even know, it's so brazen. Like, it's like, I don't care. In our language, we say, and kendenge, like whatever goes, and yet they're maybe talking to a potential sponsor, to a potential employer. You'd never know what impression you give people by the way you communicate. So etiquette will include things like language as well, how you communicate, how you even type out those words. If you're going to write in shorthand, when you're talking to someone in a professional capacity, that can make you look like you're not serious, like you're not professional. And so these are the skills that we can also teach our children. With my children, when they write in their funny languages sometimes, I'll say to them, I'm sorry, I do not understand what you're saying, even if I can sort of figure out what they're saying. And I'll say, why are you putting a four when it should be FOR, like spelled properly? Because, one day they will have to talk to their boss and they will be talking like that to them, communicating on these digital platforms in that way. So, as parents, those basic skills, like Loveness said, they're things that are common sense, they're things that are basic, they're foundational principles that we all know uh, 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 are important for us as people, that are important for us as professionals, and that our children also need to learn even from an early age.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Right. Just some few things you mentioned, Miss Edith. S- most of my teenagers, my mentees, the kids, right? When they send me a message and then use those words, I intentionally pretend like I don't know what you're saying. And then when the child now writes the correct thing, I'll ask him or her, how did it feel? Did it reduce the blood in your you know, because those things back then it made us feel cool. But these days, right now, abbreviations are no longer a thing, right? But these kids still think that it's cool and everything, and then somehow they unintentionally start writing it even in their exams, right? So yeah, that's really very, very important. Now, there's something I used to tell my children, I tell them this, that the internet never forgets. There's this course that we offer, just like digital citizenship, but we call it digital productivity. So one of the first things that I get them to memorize very well. In fact, there are some times when I ask them, what did you learn? They will just, once they say the internet never forget, I'm satisfied. Right? It's just like the story that we heard that I always share with the children. And I think parents should also, when you're talking to your children about their online behavior, you might just borrow a leaf from this. A certain young man, when he was still in school, university, so there was an issue with the financial bank, a particular financial bank, financial institution in Nigeria. So the network wasn't going through for about a day or thereabout. So he went on Twitter, and then now X now, and wrote, this bank is the most, it's not, I don't want to use the word, but he said a very foul thing about that bank. This happened while he was still in his first year in school. Years later, he graduated. He has forgotten. To him, it's gone, right? So he went to that particular bank to look for a job. He has crossed the first assessment, passed, the second passed, now the final one that will now, congratulate him. The HR just brought, just came with a tab and showed him. Immediately he saw it, he picked his file and walked out. In his story, he said that what he saw was a tweet that he made while he was still in school about that same bank, right? And there are still plenty other stories like this about what someone did, all right, and thought it's gone. That's what I used to say, that some people say that our generation, millennials, boomers, and the rest, we're fortunate that nothing you did, all your mischief was not recorded or posted on the internet, right? But these days, these kids, they just post everything on the internet, thinking that's it. That's it. Or some might even say, I deleted it. I saw a post by something was trending. The guy said he immediately deleted it after posting it. But guess what? It started trending. You said, he was like, you don't know how people got it. I was like, no, you're not the only one that have access to your feed, right? Once you post some, before you could delete, somebody have already just palm screenshot, three finger, a lot of AI ways to that made screenshotting things very easy right now. So before you make that post, think about it. There's a scripture in Philippians 4. Is this of good virtue? Is this right? Is this true? Right? Check all those things before you hit that post, because once that post goes out, before it comes back, it might haunt you, right? So parents need to really have these conversations with their children early, all right? early before you give them access to that phone, right? I mentioned something with some parents. I told them, have what I call social media trends in your house. You know, the way we used to have when I was younger, we used to have morning devotions. And then during that morning devotion, they will rebuke all the people that have messed up for that week. Right? So all the people that messed up for that week, just get ready to collect. All right. So have this conversation. Social media, what's trending today? What trended this week? This is not right. This is right. This is what should be done. This is what shouldn't be done. Don't wait for them to now get immersed into the digital world before you now start having those conversations. You might not, by then, it might be very, very late. Now, let's move on to something else, still on the topic. Now, we are looking at how can parents help promote creativity and productivity in their children using, the online tools, using technology, using their smart devices, right? How can we encourage kids to use technology for learning, creativity, and skill building? Now, we are talking about maximizing those screen times. Miss Loveness, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, thank you for that one. I think what's really important and key, I think also linked back to the previous conversation that we've just had about the internet never forgetting. I think that one is really key and very important. And if the child masters it, then also the reverse is true. If you post, if you are productive, if you align the child's use of technology with things that are centered around purpose, centered around vision, centered around ambition, centered around what they want to achieve. What are they aspiring? If like for example, if your child loves talking, okay, let's find young people of influence who are speaking about, let's talk about green tech. Let's talk about, okay, fine, things that are emerging that actually have got some weight for your future. And that is really key. If your child wants to be an influencer, oh, all right, what type of influencer do you want to be? Do the research. Okay, can we channel your influencership, you know, if there's such a word, your influencership towards who you want to be in the future. So which means that when this child goes online, let's even employ things. Let's use vision boards. Ask them to do a vision board. Where do you see yourself? Who do you want to be? Why? Because a vision board will hardwire that child at a subconscious level to start doing things daily that contribute to where they are going. If they love soccer, I'm not going to mention any names, but I know that there are soccer celebrities that started handling the ball before they were even 6. Now, by the time they hit 10 or 18, you can't compete. You just can't compete. So I think it's the same with parents. Let's channel that energy. Let's channel that interest into something that child, if they love writing, create a blog that is supervised where they don't share maybe their face, they don't share all these things. And the exciting part, because I'm in that space, there's funding, there are opportunities for young innovators. There are opportunities for children that are focused. People out there, the United Nations, fellowships, accelerator programs, venture capitalists, some of them are looking for young people who have their head screwed on straight, who are focused to say, this is something that I want. So I think it's really one of the things that I do with the children is vision casting. I sit down with them and I say, okay, fine, what do you want to be? Let's research online. My son loves movies. So we were then channeling him towards cinematography. And so now I will say, okay, fine, let's research. Who is this person? Who produced this? What technique did they use to do this? So now that energy for movies is when he goes online, he will research. Sometimes I'll ask him, tell me about this movie. Tell me how much they made. And so literally he's now starting to see, okay, fine, there's more towards the movie. And then I'm also encouraging him not to be a content consumer, but to be a content creator. And I'm not saying that he should go on every platform and, oh, let everything go. No, but with supervision, let's create a script. Do your research. Who do you want to speak to? What do you want to do? How are you going to speak about it? And what do you want them to gain from what you are sharing with them? And so we are framing their usage of technology in a way that will actually help them in their future. And one thing that I also wanted to add on around that parents and people must be aware of, even for their own use, is children will Google you. And when they Google you and find out about you, they'll be like, she's telling me to do this, but I just saw my mom twerking on TikTok, and things like that. And sometimes these things that we are asking them to do actually impacts them badly. We've got children who have been bullied, who've been degraded because of some of the activities their parents are doing. And I think we have to be careful about such things. And the last thing is, in-laws are Googling their future son-in-laws, even prospective investors, employers are Googling. And it's called ethical background checks in my industry, where you can do that as you are headhunting someone to see if they align with the company regulation. There's, as long as you share something on a public platform, it's easy picking. We don't need to go into the dark web and befriend you and then trap you to get information. Anything you share on a public platform is there for everybody to pick.
Great, great, awesome, awesome. So one thing that you said, Miss Loveness, is channeling their energy, right, through technology, right? So while you were talking, I remembered, because much earlier, few years back, I had to Google up a lot of kids that are doing amazing things in the world of tech, and I was shocked at what I discovered. Right now, one of the people that were of most interest to me was the boy called Ryan Kaji. All right. Now, Ryan started a channel when he was 3 years old. 3 years old. That was in 2015. His name is Ryan Kaji. Okay. Now, look at what the parents did. Every time the boy is gotten a toy, the boy will just be mumbling, "Oh, this is a toy, so it looks really good. It looks really good." Now, what did the mom do? The mom started recording this boy just mumbling about with the toy and all that, right? And after that, posted it on YouTube. Did the first, did the second, and a lot of kids started loving this kid's videos, right? He was 3. Now, the parents had to quit their job. Now, I'm not saying you should quit your job to support your child's dream, but definitely they may get to a point where you would see the enormous potential of your child, and you can't just keep hiding the light under a bushel, right? You just need to put the light on the lampstand and let it shine, right? The parents quit their job and focused on making this child's dream of making videos upon videos to, to shine, right? Today, Ryan has been, I think, 3 times best paid YouTuber in the world. Ryan makes over $36 million. $36 million every year on YouTube. I think it should be more than that, because this was as at the last time I checked, right? And the boy is still on YouTube. Okay, the boy is still on YouTube. Miss Loveness mentioned, don't just allow your children to be content consumers. They can be content creators, but outside of creating content, they can use technology for a lot of things, right? I have a background in med school. I went to medical school when I was much, back then, right? But my dad given me a phone when I was 12 years old. Now, this wasn't because of his doing, because he didn't say anything. He just gave me a phone and disappeared. All right. But I was so curious about the device that I started making deeper research about it. started wanting to find out more things on my own about what I could do with the device, right? Now, when I picked an interest, you know, when you're growing up, you'll be interested in becoming a lot of things. I've been interested in becoming different big things, engineer, doctor, a lot of things. I got to a point I wanted to become a professional dancer. So this was what I started doing. Yeah, right. So this was what I did, you know, with my phone then. So by then, we are now using Java phones, you know, Nokia series and the rest of them. So I go to YouTube and download videos by Michael Jackson, Chris Brown, a lot of best dancers, and put them on my channel. I was a teenager by then. And then every night when everybody else is sleeping, I'll wake up and be practicing how to dance, practice with videos, right? And then I'll download a lot of instrumentals and everything. I always tell my wife that I can dance to any song, even that the first time I listen to it. Yes, I can still dance, at least not as good as I used to be. All right. But I'm not as bad as my wife on a dance floor. Okay. So, but I was actually able to channel that device, you know, into building myself. I got to lead about 2 to 3 dance groups before I quit and moved on, right? So when I got into med school and upon graduating, I did not like to work in the hospital. You know, I worked for like 2 years. This is not my life. Okay. Guess what I did? I started learning skills, tech skills on my phone. I actually never registered in any school, right, to learn the things I can do today, right? I just used YouTube, like you said. I used YouTube, learned a lot, right? Started picking up some courses here and there and all of that. And guess what? That particular skills I started learning on my phone is what have used to grow an organization that has up to 20 employees right now, right? All on my phone. So it's about when parents actually begin to see, you know, the potential, all right, the talent, you know, that latent energy, that little spark in their child. And then technology have made it such that they can now use these things around them to, you know, begin to develop on these things, right? Today I tell the kids I teach that you can become a graphic designer today, you can become video editor, you can become a lot of things right now. And I tell them this because while we were younger, I started dreaming very early in my life, to the point my dad said, you dream too much, you talk too much, why not just focus on what other children are doing? You know, I just wanted to do big things when I was much younger, right? So these days, right, technology have made it such that children can now become anything they want to be, even while they are still very young. 10 years, 12 years, 5 years, you know, 6 years, 7 years, you know, teenage, right? They can do great things. But that aspect of actually helping them to channel that energy right must be encouraged. Right. Okay, Miss Loveland, let's hear from you. Then we move it over to Miss Edith.
You know, I'm just, you know, if I could dance whilst you were speaking, I would have done it. I would have done it because literally I feel like you're telling my story, you know, as you were speaking. One of the things that I didn't mention is that I'm a former international NGO accountant with 12 years experience. And I'm self-taught, literally. I've been self-taught for the last 10 years in digital marketing, web development, graphics design, digital skills development, now getting into artificial intelligence. And there is no formal education. I only just last week wrote an exam just to skill, just, you know, out of for my own benefit and personal development. And if I tell you that the opportunities that have opened up, consultancy with the United Nations, being able to work with some of the big brands at a global level, Zoom, Google being part of that, and, you know, all these other things. And I think if me at my age, in my head, everything I used to, what I keep thinking and looking back in hindsight, I just try and encourage young people to say, in this digital age, my dear parents, and kids, educator, policymaker, regulator, whoever it is who's involved in this digital ecosystem, we have a blank check. Literally, you can be who you want to be. The children don't even need to go, even as an adult, you don't even need to wait for someone to come and teach you. Say, sit down, take out your notebook and write what I'm telling you. But literally, YouTube, blogs. That's how I learned, and everything. So literally, I'm a living advert. I'm a living advert, living and breathing of what is possible. And that's why I'm passionate about children, parents, educators, even the policymakers, again, regulators, and even as a nation, for us to foster digital literacy, digital entrepreneurship, all those nice things, digital wellness and citizenship, so that our children have a future. You don't want them, if we're losing children, we're losing children to death by suicide, mental health issues, depression, anxiety, addictions, those things. And it's more potent than, some of the things that we had to get used to for us to get addicted. So thank you so much. I just got triggered and I said, no, they must know that this is what we are sharing with them is real. I mean, it's so real. It doesn't get any more real than this.
Awesome, awesome. All right, Miss Edith, so I want you to come from the angle of what can parents do now? What should parents do right now, all right, to help promote their children, or to help their children promote creativity and productivity online? Practical steps.
All right. First, besides the values that we spoke about, there's a lot of apps that children can actually use right now for productive and creative purposes. One of them that we have used in our home is Canva. Canva has helped us to write books, to do flyers, to create different types of content, from birthday card gifts to presentations and so forth. So if you can find an app, just one app, because I know for parents, a lot of us did not grow up in the digital world. Some of us only learned to use the internet in our 20s and got smartphones, I think, in our 30s. So when you're dealing with children who are savvy from when they're in the womb, they come out of the womb and they already know how to operate these things. It can feel overwhelming. Right. Yeah, so find one thing. Find that one app that you can actually introduce to your children, and then teach some kind of skill. If your child enjoys things like the video side of it, then take them to YouTube and create a channel which is not public, and then you work with them through their video production and all that. If your child loves writing, like me, I write better than I speak, then you can help them start a blog with it. Then share something about something that they have an interest in, and it doesn't have to be something academic. It could be something really childlike, but the purpose is to nurture a skill and link it to their passion, and then support them through that growth of it. And another thing that they can do is utilize the power of networking. What Loveness was saying about this playing field being level and us having a blank check to be whoever we want to be, it's important that we understand how to communicate and interact with people, how to build relationships in those platforms. A testament of how that worked for the two of us is that we met online. I first met Loveness during COVID. I saw her presenting something on Facebook, and then eventually we were in a WhatsApp group together. And I reached out to her and I said, I've been watching you from the sidelines, and I'm interested in knowing more about your work, and we connected. And before we knew it, we had so many interests. I think we then met physically 2 years later or something. Yeah, 2 years down the road, that's when we met physically. And same with Betty and Frederick. We have met online. We've never met physically, but so it's important also for us to
We
teach.
will so soon.
Yes, very soon. So those skills, where we teach our children to identify people that are aligned with their vision. They need to also know that they cannot, and they really shouldn't operate in a vacuum by themselves. They can get support through different ways. They can get mentorship with the young people who are in the high school years going towards university and so forth. We always encourage them to go get onto LinkedIn and not just create an account and walk away from it, but to learn from the people who are doing things that they are interested in. So we need to open our children's eyes to the broader aspect of being in the digital world, that even if they're a gamer. I know for one young man here in Zimbabwe who said, I'm trying to reach the people who created Roblox because I think there's something that they can improve. I've got some ideas of how I think they can improve this. And the mother fortunately took it seriously, and she had a conversation with me and said, how can I help my son to achieve this mission of his? I don't understand it. I actually don't support it, in all honesty, because I think it's a waste of his time. He should be focusing on his academics. But I don't want to stifle that dream of his. So some of these emerging careers for our children, they will probably start at a very young age. Like the Williams sisters, they started their tennis when they were very young. Our best swimmers, the people who, when you look at the world of sport, you realize a lot of them started when they're young. When you look in the entertainment industry, the singers, many of them started young. There is nothing wrong with helping your child pursue a dream if that is what they're good at and that's what they're passionate about. However, we need to educate ourselves on what it is that they need to be protected from, how we can avoid them being exploited, how we can protect their digital footprint, how we can also make sure that they are secure when they're online in terms of the people that they interact with. We need to understand the platforms. If it's an app, how does it work? How does it treat my children's data? How does my child make money from it? What does it really mean, in other words, for my child to be on that app, to be on that platform, to be doing the things that they want to do? And it's also important that we get skilled ourselves. We can not operate from a point of power if we are not aware of what's going on. For example, if your child wants to be a TikToker, and TikTok is not all a waste of time. Some children are actually doing very valuable stuff there, adults as well. So you can actually go onto the platform and get to understand it and use it with your child, learn more about it, and support them through that growth. Help them to read those terms and conditions that come with those platforms, so that you also know what your child is signing up for and to how it is going to use whatever the information that they're putting there. Get that education for yourself and then for your child, and support each other and work, really work with them in developing those skills. Not everything that children are doing online or on their smartphones is a waste of time. A lot of it is actually very valuable. It's building skills for their future, and all it needs is that missing piece, which is the parent, to support.
Awesome. Okay, I think at this point I need to also talk about smartphone productivity club. Just as we said, it mentioned Canva. In our club, where we actually offer these tech skills to kids, leveraging their smart devices productively. We had a child that did, one of the things that they learned in the program was ebook designing, right? And then ebook designing was about the kids just writing an ebook online and just people can read it online. But the parents of this child did something extra by going ahead to print. We've actually ordered a copy, and he's going to be in our in the podcast very soon. The parents went ahead to publish this book, right? I can kind of feel the joy that would be in that child's face, seeing those things that he did on the phone, right, coming to life. That goes a long way to tell the child that, hey, these things that you do on your phone or your tablet is not just for the sake of you're not just wasting or whiling away or playing about, right? Those are actually one of the mistakes that some parents, when they enroll their children in our program, they disappear. Miss Eddie talked about, you too, you need to get the knowledge, right? There is no that it's not bad for you to sit around, all right? If you're sitting by this, I remember this father that would sit beside the child when the boy is taking his class, because I asked the father, why are you always around? He said, this thing is very important. This one may not know, so stuff like that. So when parents actually come around with their child and pick up those tech skills, if the 1 hour or how many period of time is over, you can go on to explain further, right? These are all ways that you're educating your child, pointing them in the path of responsibility and productivity while they are on their smart device, right? There are enormous things on top. I always say that the technology today, there are plenty untapped potential, right? But it is always when there is ignorance that an abuse is inevitable, right? When the kids don't know what to do on their device, they will do what they feel every other person is doing. A lot of adults even abuse their smartphones, abuse their online world, or abuse their online space. Adults, right? So how much more the children that are watching them, okay, when there is no education, all right? I told the parent that, hey, even if you don't get this device for your child now, what are you doing to make sure that when you eventually get the device, it won't be like a waiting time bomb, right? So all the time that you were waiting until you get to this particular age, you did not teach him digital citizenship, you don't teach him about online behavior, you don't teach him about this social, you don't teach him digital skills, fueling their passion and everything. And then one day you now say, okay, yes, you're old enough, you're about to enter university, take. What makes you think that that is the time that he or she won't do the wrong thing, right? Because I always say that this is one thing that is missing in school academic curriculum. They don't teach these things, right? They don't teach this. It's all about academics, even the ICT program, because we work with a lot of schools here in Nigeria, right? So we see the curriculum. They don't do all of this. In fact, mostly I think in this part of the world, I don't know about there, once a child is doing well academically, then the child is smart. But that doesn't actually, it could make the child intelligent, but it doesn't make the child smart. All right. Because when the child is giving some things, those things they learned in school, that is not the same as the things they are seeing on the internet. It's very easy to just join the queue and continue with what is already going wrong. So education, early education is very, 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 very important. Okay, let's begin to wrap up. Although we've talked a lot about social media use, but okay, yeah, this question is important. So a teenager applies for a scholarship but is rejected due to inappropriate okay, this was just like the same thing I talked about. So it's still about positive, promoting positive digital footprints. Miss Loveness, please emphasize on this one more time. I think the more we reiterate this, the more it sinks, right? So emphasize on proactive steps to maintain a positive online presence. How can parents actually encourage their children to maintain a positive online presence?
I thank you so much. So I think one of the most important things are things that we've literally, I think if there's anything that we've said over and over again, first things first, courtesy of Frederick, the internet does not forget. It doesn't forget. So I think teaching them at a very young age, number one, watch what you post. And now I think because of certain emerging cultures like the prank culture, our children need to be intentionally taught empathy, you know. So I remember there was a Harvard professor who actually did a whole session on that, a whole lecture on why children these days need to be taught empathy. And these are some of the, sadly, some of the negative things that tech has brought on. Whilst we encourage children to be content creators, what this is also influencing children to do is when something happens which shouldn't be online, like someone getting hurt, someone getting into an accident, some of them will have already captured that content. And it won't be for public use, but they will do it. So I think some of those things, literally the concept of digital citizenship are key. Watch what you post, be respectful, show empathy, think twice before you post it. If you can't say it in front of someone live, don't post it. If you know, think twice. And some of the things that are also emerging are things like sexting. When a child even just posts pictures of them undressed to someone, and it's showing that a lot of those pictures end up further than the person that they were intended for. And so we need to also build in like the online etiquette that we're talking about. You don't post pictures of yourself when you're undressed. Make sure that you also don't share personal information online. And I know we can literally, there are a lot of things that we can discuss, but let's start with the basics of things that we already know, um, for them not to do. And to build that positive digital footprint, it's critical when you're posting, think first about what is your goal, what do you want to achieve? Things, who do you want to be known by? What do you want to be known for? And what is your why? Who do you want to be known by? What do you want to be known for? And what is your why? So who you want to be known by actually impacts or shapes what you should post, because the assumption is you are posting so that you're known by certain people. So we've seen young ladies, I think it's a cry for attention and validation, posting themselves not fully dressed. And you should check their audience, you should check their comment section. It will profile the people who are interested in those things. Older men, people who are crass, people who are raunchy, the people that you really wouldn't want a young lady to be associated with. So that's the who you want to be known by. If you want to be known by the inventors, the fundraisers, people in the green tech, smart technologies, then you do your research and actually do that. And what do you want to be known for actually shapes the things that you will then post. Post about things that you want to be associated with. And then what is your why? Again, the vision board. What will fuel you? What do you want to achieve? What is your ambition? Again, want to channel those energies towards the positive things. So without maybe drawing out too far, I think those are some of the critical questions, even with branding for clients. That's what, or building a personal brand online. Those are the three key questions that we start as a basic and a foundation.
Okay, awesome, awesome. All right, Miss Edith, let's move on to another segment of this, cyberbullying. Cyberbullying. Now, how can parents teach their kids to recognize when they are being bullied online? So, what are the signs of cyberbullying? Okay, and how can parents equip their kids to respond to such responsibly?
Okay, so cyberbullying is a lot like traditional bullying, except that it's happening using these digital platforms. Cyberbullying involves the repeated assault, humiliation, attack of another person, using offensive language. Usually, nowadays, it involves things like body shaming. It involves also pulling other people into that digital drama. So with young people, what we always encourage is that they shouldn't be quick to say, I've been cyberbullied, just because someone has said something that they don't like. Sometimes uh, in our youth, we know that we can say things where they're just jabs at each other. It's not a deliberate attack to humiliate, to degrade, to make someone feel a certain way for a long period of time. So it's important that the child is able to differentiate between something that is just, children being children, and also something where someone has gone across the boundary and they're repeatedly offending, they're repeatedly attacking, they're repeatedly humiliating this child. And it's also important that parents assist their children to have a sense of resilience in this on these digital platforms. You find that because of the culture that we're saying, that the cultures that are developing, Loveness talked about the prank culture, there's also that culture of no snitching that happens now. There's a culture of where they think it's funny to say things which are not so nice to each other, and it's all for laughs, they say. But if a child feels that it is going too far, it has happened too often, then it's important for them to always have that channel open where they can communicate with their parent, where they can communicate with a trusted adult, to share why they feel they're being cyberbullied, and to get assistance in that regard. Another thing that you'll find is that on the other side, there are children who can start drama, they start digital drama on their platforms, and then the person that they've started the drama with retaliates, but because maybe that person something which is deeper cutting, then they are the one who they're supposed to say, I was bullied, they're cyberbullying me. But we found with some of our investigations when those cases happen that the victim is actually the initial perpetrator. They're the one who started the drama, and then just because things turned differently for them, they now report cyberbullying. So it's important also for us as parents to be able to not be quick to get emotional about it and say, oh, my child has been bullied, and you can actually find yourself on the receiving end of the embarrassment stick, where your child was actually the one, and there's actually evidence being placed before you that this is where the problem started. So while we teach etiquette, as we're teaching etiquette, it's important to also teach those communication styles where children should be able to identify that when I speak to someone and they say, and they tell you categorically that they don't like it, you should be able to critically discern that this person, whether I'm doing it out of fun or our little jabs that we do to each other, if it's not received well, then you should not do it, should not carry it on. And if a child is participating in where the other two children are having their issues back and forth, you should not participate, should not find yourself also adding what did you say, Frederick? Adding firewood to the fire. So yeah, so when we now speak about cyberbullying, based on our experiences, we never look at it in a one-sided way, and we never look at it as my child is always the victim. Sometimes we also need to look beyond that and say, my child might be the victim, they might be the perpetrator, they might also be the accessory who's assisting with the bullying, or they might be the one who's upstanding for the other child. So whatever it is, we need to have all those conversations. The child should not be a cyber bully. And how do they identify when they're being, because sometimes they think it's just fun and games, but actually it has been taking, it's been carrying on for so long, it has become something else. And because other people are now involved, the thing that we talked about, screenshotting is happening, it has gone viral. Now other people are also attacking this person because of something that you started. Then you have to take responsibility and do ABC to rectify. If the child is the one who's being bullied, we need to help them establish whether it is in fact cyberbullying or it is just good old childishness, fun, and then also to be able to communicate, help them to have that. We say in our programs, we've got the cyber ready, cyber smart, and cyber strong. So we encourage them to be cyber strong, to be able to speak up and stand up for themselves as well, and to actually say to someone who they feel is bullying them, to ask them to stop. And then when they see that nothing is working, this thing is carrying on, they can then refer to a trusted adult and get the support that they need. And where they have done something wrong, they should be able to know that no mistake is beyond redemption, that they can still turn themselves around, they can still do the right thing. And where they're seeing someone else being bullied, they shouldn't just stand and watch. They could either intervene or they could report as well to a trusted adult to make sure that something is done about it.
Amazing, amazing. So another question still in line with what Miss Edith just answered is what I call digital negativism, right? In social media, we have a lot of naysayers, a lot of bullying, right? We have a lot of critics, right? The critics that could lead a child. All right, now talking about teenagers this time, critics that could lead a teenager to feel depressed or even committing suicide or something in that critical nature, right? So now how can parents actually pick up signs of depression that could be due to social negativism, right? Digital negativism and all of that. How can parents actually spot that their teenager is witnessing such type of trauma, and what what are the practical steps that they can follow to arrest such situation? Miss Loveness.
Yes, thank you so much, Brady, for that one. That one is really a deep one. I think it's very important for parents to be very attentive to their children. And we've mentioned before that sometimes we are so busy preparing for their future that a lot of the parents whose children have been victims to death by suicide, some of them will tell you, my child was happy. I didn't see anything. And things like that. And so it's whilst I'm going to list some of the things that research and some of these great experts say are indicators that your child is being cyberbullied or something is wrong with them. You need to know your child as a parent. You need to make time. You need to be observant. If the child is outgoing, you'll see them distancing themselves. You'll see them taking themselves away from some of the things that they love doing. You'll see them not, it takes a long time for them to bath. They're supposed to bath, but they won't do it. They're supposed to do their homework, but they're not doing it. They are, withdrawn socially and on so many fronts. Some of them will even retaliate and start, having this, behavior that you don't understand, which goes beyond. When we're talking about teens, yes, we know they've got, their teenage hormones and moodiness and things like that, but there's a difference now when a child is actually going through something. And I think it's really, really important, as a parent, you'll be like, something's wrong with my child, but I can't really put a finger on it. And when that happens, sometimes children may struggle. A lot of the children that we speak to struggle to be open with their own parents. They'll be like, if I tell my mother that I'm in this kind of trouble, oh my goodness, So they are so afraid of opening up and telling their own parents, this is what I'm doing, this is what I've gotten myself into. And sadly, what happens, some of them then take drastic measures, which is why I really love, and what we emphasize on with Edith is there is no mistake that cannot be fixed. And the children need to know it. There is no mistake that cannot be fixed. Parents need to build open relationships with their children so that they can discuss anything. What sometimes happens when we go to these schools or when we engage with young people, sometimes the educators will be like, I don't think anything is going to come out of there. I don't think they're going to open up. But we have seen them opening up and saying, you know what, Coach E, you know what, Auntie Loveness, this is what has happened to me. And you're like, who did you tell? And they're like, I didn't want to tell nobody. I couldn't even tell my mom, And we don't want a situation like that. But I think also it's important to create support structures, social support structures around your child. If they are favorite aunts, if they are favorite uncles, because sometimes the perpetrators are their siblings within the house. They are grooming your children. They are perpetuating some of that cyberbullying. They are, embarrassing your child. They've got insider information, and they're going to just let it out on their phone. They want to be popular at the expense so I want to be a content creator. I also want to share what my sibling does, and they're hurting their sibling. So we need to be in a space where we can create social support structures and platforms, like opportunities where you actually ask your child, so what's going on with you? How are things going? And things like that. And other support structures. Us as experts, you as Frederick, you find that it's easy to, I don't know if you can confirm that, sometimes a child will open up to you, and when you ask them who else they
Yeah.
told them, you're the first person I'm telling, or you're the only person that I've told. And so
Yeah.
as parents, what we also say to them, like, that's why we say we are moms too. We are not there to judge. We're not there to point fingers. We're not there to say we got it all together. We're also navigating, but we're in that space and we've decided to specialize. They are our children too, you know. Let's link up, let's be part of your support structure. You don't have to go through this alone as a parent. Have a resource, have a place, link your child up the same way. If your child loves swimming, you will get them a swimming coach. If your child loves ballet, you look for a ballet teacher or a club or soccer, whatnot. The same thing with the digital space. You don't have to know everything and be all as a parent. You can tap into some of the social structures, social support systems like us and Frederick, so that we can better support your family as you navigate the digital space.
Exactly. Yeah. Because where I come from, they say that raising a child is not only the responsibility of the parents, it's a community thing, right? In Africa, when a child of your neighbor is seen misbehaving in public, you can pick up, a whip and flog the child. Yeah, it happens in this part of the world. And then the father will now come in and add more leaf, add more. So you are the one that caught doing this. And guess what? When the child is also doing well, the community claims the child as that is our son. He's, that is our daughter. That's how we behave in our family, you know. And guess what? If you ask the child, do you know this person? They don't know, right? So you will not be able to do this all by yourself. That is why there are experts out there, right? I always tell parents that your son's or your child's teacher knows your child more than you do. You know, my teacher in school, when I was in school, would tell more about me than my mom or my dad. Now, let's evaluate it in real sense. Once a child comes of age to go to school, Monday through Friday, they are in school from 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. sometimes down to like 4 p.m. Now, they have 5 p.m. to the next time to spend with you, and that time they need to even sleep and do assignment. They don't have that much time with you than their teachers, right? Then on Saturdays and Sundays, you may now say, I'm very busy, I want to rest from a week's work. So you notice that teachers in school spend more time, right, than parents who spend with their children. So that is why you need to make sure that, number one, the school that you're even putting your child in is schools that actually want your child's well-being. They are interested in your child's well-being, because some schools that we have seen, they are more interested in making more money from the parents than the actual well-being of the child, you know. So when we come in and as external facilitators, and you hear some teachers say, ah, leave that one, leave him, you know, he will not. I say, but is it not your responsibility and all of that, right? But then when it comes to building or putting up new things that they want you to pay more money for, right? That is where you see the school grow more muscle, and you need to pay for this and pay for that and all of that. So parents need to make sure that they are seeking the right help. That is why just schools may not work, right? Like what digital age conversations do, or what we do as Smartphone Political Hub, it's all about what providing that mentorship. Now we are trying to now build a program that will call all the instructors mentors. You're not just about teaching the child a tech skill, you're about making sure that the child is being guided in the right path in terms of technology. Because yeah, we are all as passionate as making sure we see kids that technology will not derail them, right? That technology will not set them in the wrong path, right? But that they are leveraging technology. We always say, hey, technology is a tool. It's not your master. You should be the master of these devices or these things that you are using, right? So it is only when these kids become slaves to these things that these things begin to derail them. I don't know if you heard about the news of a boy that was convinced to commit suicide by an AI chatbot. You can imagine that. An AI chatbot made this kid. He thought that he was chatting with a real person. You know, AIs, they would do anything they want. The next thing, the AI started telling the, hey, you can actually come home to me and all of that. And the kid now thought it meant, committing suicide to be with the AI in quotes. So you can imagine what type of relationship did this boy have with the parent, that he felt, a teenager, I think 13 or 14, he felt more at home with an AI. That's it. I was so pissed when I learned about this news. An AI, not a real person, an AI, a computer program, right? So just to get parents to really be aware of what is going on in the digital space, right? Because with this big machine, these big technologies coming into existence, that is also the same way that you want to make sure that your children are what leveraging them positively, are taking good advantage of them. All right, we have just 10 minutes to go now, so time for our final words. Let's hear from Miss Edith. Miss Edith, let's hear from you. Final words to parents on how to encourage digital citizenship, or right or good citizenship, or digital citizenship in their children. Miss Edith.
Thank you, Frederick. I can't believe that we've been talking for so long. Sorry, almost 2 hours. Thank you.
Yeah.
something I just wanted to add on to your previous question about identifying signs of depression or trauma due to that digital negativism. One sign that I've usually spotted in my own home is that, especially with the teenagers, is that they start to hide their what they're doing online. So sometimes there are times when they're in the room and you're all sitting there and everyone is on their device and there's no issue. But there comes a time where they're going to their rooms a lot more, spending more time away from everybody else. And if you walk into that room when they're there, they're quick to hide whatever they're doing. Or when you try to talk to them about their media use, they become defensive and aggressive sometimes. And it also starts affecting maybe their schoolwork, it affects their way they socialize, it affects their sleep, even the way that they eat. And when I've interrogated it further as a mother, I found that usually there's something behind that. There's cyberbullying, sometimes even in their own friend groups, they are doing things to each other, they're trolling each other. What Loveness was saying, that they'll even take videos of each other and share on other platforms to just, and they think it's funny and they think it's going to get them the popularity and the attention. So it's important to, like Loveness was saying, that you need to know your children and you need to watch those little things in behavior. It's not always that technology is involved. Sometimes it's because of exams. Sometimes it's just, the teenage hormones doing their thing. Other times it's other social pressures that they have. But more often than not, in this day and age, we found that there's some link to the media. It might even be what they're seeing, their friends are achieving. Maybe it's holiday season and we are stuck at home and their friends are on holiday somewhere exotic and they feel like, oh, me, we are not going anywhere. What's wrong with us? So the trauma comes in different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be just the cyberbullying. It could actually be from the fear of missing out because other kids are going to parties and they're not. Other children are getting expensive gifts and they are not. Things are happening that they feel they would want to be entitled to, but they're not receiving. So it's important to spot those signs and have honest conversations with your children. We had issue even as other children are going to the universities abroad and our children were not. So it can be anything with these young people, and it usually has some kind of link to their media use. So just to have the honest conversations, ongoing, constant, supportive elements, and always teaching them the right skills. And I would like to also encourage parents to remember that the virtual world, following up on what you've just talked about, Frederick, about the young boy in the chatbot, the virtual world for these young people is not just a playground for them. It is their world in most of these instances. And it doesn't help for us to hide our head in the sand. It doesn't help for us to be dismissive. It doesn't help for some of us who are African to say, not in my house type of attitude. We have to change our style of parenting to suit the children that we're parenting now, to also suit the world that they are existing in. There are a lot of things that we may not understand, but for them, it is their reality. This is where they spend most of their time. The example that Loveness gave, these are real life things where children will say, I don't have friends outside the people that I socialize with online. And we're socializing online because if we're not meeting at school, there's this distance between us, which doesn't facilitate us having physical contact. So what do you want us to do? Let's look at their reality. Let's understand that reality and work with what we have in our situations. Let's also not be afraid to admit where we don't know things, and we can learn so much from them. we have personally learned a lot from our own children in terms of their device use, the interests that young people have, but even just the new technologies. So what is happening? How do you see this? I didn't even know when you talked about AI chatbots. My son was telling me that we're just discussing, this Meta AI, how it's very helpful for this and that and that. But how are you guys using it? And he was telling me, I talk to it like a friend. I'll ask questions, like I'll ask for advice about social things, So it's important to have those discussions with them and then to help them navigate that, to show them the disconnect, where there's a disconnect in how they perceive things, that this is not the real world, this is not a real person. Technology is a tool. It may say companion, and you are able to actually get certain things that you feel you cannot get from a human being, but it does not take away the fact that it is inhuman. And just guide them along this. It's a really rough terrain for many of them, because we as parents, we don't have a blueprint for it. We don't know how to help them in some instances, which is why it's then important to go to other sources, to go into our communities. But above all, let us trust our parental intuition. The campus that we have as parents, that is still very important. Let's not discount our traditional ways of parenting, where we discipline, where we guide, where we redirect, where we continue to love and nurture. Those are the guiding principles, whether they're a digital parent or not. And if there are any things that we feel we have not done correctly, or we think we can do better, it is never too late. There's still time. So let's continue to work with our children, learn from them, work with them, use those tools together and grow together. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. That's that's like the entire 2 hours in 5 minutes. All right. Thank you so much for that, so Miss Edith. All right, Miss Loveness. So you have just 2 minutes, so that I'll just use 1 minute to say bye, everyone. All right.
Right. Thank you so much for this. I loved the conversation, and I'm hoping those who listen, this is just the basic, this is just the tip of the iceberg. But to the parents out there, we have seen parents who feel disempowered to actually step in as parents, the way we are asking you to say, okay, fine, guide your child, watch over them. For sometimes we say, be in that space of just withdrawing that device from them and saying, come, let's go and take a walk, come, let's go and do this. You have the power. Your child does have a right to privacy, but they also have a right to parental care and guidance. So that can never be replaced by an AI chatbot, a companion, or anything like that. That role belongs to you. What is sad is when you are not there, technology is ever available for your child. Don't let your child be a statistic. Do whatever you can. Use your instincts. This thing of what is right or what is wrong for a parent, let's just rely on those instincts, because our intentions are never to be like, "Muhahaha, I want to do something bad, evil, love." But it's more to love, to nurture, to make sure that they are well taken care of and everything is fine. So I'm wishing you all the best. And remember, you're not alone in this. There are support structures, there are experts, there are people like Frederick and us, Digital Wellness Africa, where we are concerned about you. These are also our children. We are not sleeping, we are reading, we're researching, we are heartbroken, we are, engaging with the policymakers and regulators for your child to be safe. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. So this is exactly 2 hours of this session. I want to really believe that everybody tuned in have, gained one knowledge or the other. So the next thing is, what do you need to do right now? what do you need to do right now? Maybe you need to have that conversation that you've been shying away from with your child because you didn't know what to say about that, or you didn't know the right action to take when they are doing that wrong thing, right? Because you never even, was informed about it, right? So it's just for you to, you know, make an action point, write out an action. What do I need to do now? When this happens, what do I need to do? Do I need to speak with Miss Edith or Miss Loveness? Or what can I say to my child right now? So this is all that we've been talking about in the past 2 hours, just trying to what answer all the questions that we have. It's inexhaustible. But for being here up to this point, it means, of course, you love your child and you want to do better in parenting world. And obviously, you are good. You are doing better. You're doing better by God's grace. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us today. Thank you so much. Definitely, we are going to do this more in 2025. So it's just the beginning of more, the beginning of more, right? So thank you once again, Miss Edith and Miss Loveness, and thank you everyone, and do have a wonderful week ahead. Bye, everybody. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much.